Yes, red leather, yellow leather. Yes, red leather, yellow leather. Hello, everybody. It is Q&A Tuesday. He's Rob Hunter. I'm Mike Russell. In other news, appreciate you hanging out with us as everybody cues in, so to speak, from the social media sphere. It is important to realize and recognize and point out that the Democrat National Committee, the DNC, has convened all of the representatives on the Dem side, the who's who of the Dem world. And they got into a room today and they left. They walked in with some calls for unity and walked out with one representative, at least Representative Cohen, saying we're not on the same page. We're not even in the same book. So it is obviously a powwow to, do we get Joe Biden out of here or do we keep him? What in the world do we do?
This is a straight up American political crisis because we said this back in the Russell and Hunter days when we were on KFYI. Like, the cover up at this level is unlike anything we've ever seen before, because this has been willing from moment one, day one, from the campaign when Biden ran and they kept him in the basement. They didn't want him to go out because, number one, they were worried he's going to get COVID. But number two, he couldn't keep up with the schedule. There's a new report in the Wall Street Journal that basically said Biden skipped a meeting with the German chancellor because he had to go to bed.
It was Betty by booze time. Yeah, to get out of there.
And I say that this is American political crisis, but it's caused by us because collectively we've just gotten dumb, I think, in this country and just refused to see what the truth actually is. And we're like, it's fine. It's fine. Oh, okay. Let's have two candidates nobody really likes and let's do it again.
No, it's going back. It's going back, Robbie, and we'll get to your questions. But yes, Brendan did not get us the questions, so we're flying blind here, totally flying blind. You let us down, buddy. You just let us down.
Hopefully, it's a good question. It makes us think because you can catch us off guard here, Brendan.
Yeah, but this is Q&A Tuesday, so go ahead and fire away in the comments, and we'll get to those questions in a moment. But Rob, I think it speaks to more not stupidity. I think it speaks more to the religion of it all, and the religion of the Democrats, the religion of the right, the religion of the left. And that no, our guy isn't crazy. He's not a cult leader. It's your guy that's crazy, and he's a cult leader. No. Your guy stole our election. You guys did this, and that's what it is. And it's this time. No. Our guy isn't crazy, and no. Our guy isn't falling downstairs and whatnot. Holy mackerel! And it does go by, and it was a concerted effort. It was a really concerted effort for them to hide this from when he was running in the basement.
Yep.
And I'll dig it up. I'll try to find it. Hopefully I have for you by tomorrow. One example, when he was on one of the late night shows from his basement, and he was showing a picture, and it had his teleprompter in the reflection of the picture. And remember, they would never say, I would never say, never have a teleprompter. He said teleprompter right there. People feeding him the answers. Everybody has been complicit in this. And now it's time for I didn't know. We should have a meeting, guys. All of us Democrats, we should have a meeting to see what we're going to do. This meeting is not about anything but their own preservation. They do not care about losing the White House to Donald Trump. They really, truly do not care about losing the White House to Donald Trump because they've made a career off of Donald Trump. They make money on Donald Trump. They're fine with Donald Trump. They stay relevant if Donald Trump is in office. This is them saving their own tookuses. Tookuses? Is took-I? What's plural for tookus? Saving their own butts. And if they saving their own butts because they understand that this, I would say, sham that that's been exposed, that's been hiding in plain sight, is going to affect the down cards, their elections.
100%. And that's long the problem, right, is that each politician only cares about themselves and staying in power because there's a certain cushiness to that life, to have that congressional office, that Senate office, to have a staff.
Healthcare.
To have health care, to have a pension, to have money to spend, power,
insider trade, yes,
to make money off of. So, of course, they want to stay in that position to go back to the relevancy thing, right? Tony Robbins talks about 6 human needs. And the 6 human needs are the need for certainty. We'd like to have some things that we can predict in our lives. Certain need for uncertainty, because if you were only predictable, you'd be bored out of your mind. We have a need for love and connection. We have a need for significance. And significance is, I know this very well. This is one I have struggled with. That feeling you need to be significant. And many politicians get it from their office. It becomes part of their identity. You don't want to be
yes man bubble.
Remember J.D. Hayworth? J.D. Hayworth, who used to be on afternoons at 550 KFYI before Russell and Hunter. And he did horrible in the ratings because he was boring. but he hated being former Congressman J.D. Hayworth, so much so he sent letterhead 10 years after he was out of office from the congressional desk of J.D.
Yes.
Hayworth. Bro,
I
you
think
spent like 2 years. Get out of here.
I think it's from the desk of former congressional, whatever, something like that.
Yeah.
It was. Remember when Obama started that? Obama started that with the on the front of the his little podium, his little lectern there. It said from the office of the president elect, which wasn't even a thing. From the office of the president elect, I'm more important than the. No, you're not as important as the president until you actually take the oath of office. Let's jump in on these questions. We'll start with Rhonda, and then this is an easy one, Brendan. Let me tell you, it goes kind of a funny little story. But top 5. Okay, top 5. George Washington, of course, was the last human to be qualified to be the president of the United States because they offered him king, and he said, "I don't want it." So if you don't want to be the president, you're immediately qualified to be the president of the United States. Come on, Teddy Roosevelt for me. That's an easy breezy. He's my man. Rough Riders. And then let's see, we go with Lincoln and old Ronnie. And did I give you 5?
I think you need one more.
I'm going to go with Taft.
Washington. Yeah.
I have no idea. No idea. Yeah, I have no idea. But yes, this. Yeah. So okay, Robbie, go ahead.
I would have most agreement with that. Washington, Reagan, Lincoln for sure. Other than that, you know what? I don't really know that much about his presidency. I know that he was a badass. He was a rough rider, cool dude all around.
National parks, our system of conservation.
Mm-hmm.
Saying that's why he has my vote.
I'm going to go with William Henry Harrison, who served for 3 months before he died of pneumonia because can't really screw things up in 3 months. So
an administration of potential. That's what it is. Exactly. His legacy is potential.
Right. I think I would put Jefferson in there, although I don't think Jefferson was a perfect president. I think probably the only perfect president we've had was Washington.
Perfect, exactly.
Because he walked away, said, "I'm good. I don't want to be buried under the Capitol. I'm going to go make some whiskey here in Virginia and hang out and have a good time." I think Reagan, because of that big tent approach that he had, which I advocate for Republicans to do, because it was like, okay, the country's going great. So I'd have to think about, I want to see if there's a dark horse candidate in there somewhere. Barack.
Okay.
No, I'm kidding.
That's the right thing to do. Put me in the top 5. Top 5 I am. I'm top 5.
I actually have done some investigation on JFK, and I used to not like JFK as far as a president goes. He had a short presidency, obviously, but the more I learn about him, the more willing to take risks he was, and I kind of like that. I wish Lyndon Baines Johnson wasn't his vice president, but that's a different story for a different time. And Kennedy's presidency wasn't perfect. Obviously, Bay of Pigs invasion was a disaster. CIA set that up for failure, by the way. And then the start of the involvement he didn't really start the involvement in Vietnam. That was an Eisenhower thing, but he kept the ball moving. Again, CIA. So I think I would consider JFK in my top 5 list as well.
Okay. All right. David came in with Washington, Lincoln, Reagan, Jefferson, and James Monroe. All right.
That's good. That's a good 5 right there, Dave.
That's a solid. This is like a starting 5. What's your starting 5?
Exactly. Calvin Coolidge for Rhonda.
Look at that.
Rhonda, why did you put Calvin Coolidge on the list? And I don't know what number was he. What number president was he? 29.
I don't understand. How would you know that?
I'm guessing. I don't know.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, God, you're nerdy. Like I remember I brought up a piece of legislation that was passed. Remember, it was the I forget what it was called, but it was the Taft something. It was the no propaganda can be spread amongst the citizenry, amongst we the people. And I said the year, and you said the president that signed it. I was like, you are a freak, dude. You are an absolute freak. Because he has Cool in his name. I dig that. Cool in the Gang. They knew him as Cool in the Gang Coolidge back in the day. Yeah, that's actually where the band got the name, Cool in the Gang.
Clearly. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Celebrate good time, Calvin Coolidge.
Brendan, I decided a long time ago, me and my real estate partner and I decided to get into talk radio. And that is of itself a weird story. We had no training. We didn't know what to do. We just like to debate and talk. And that's what we like to do. I have a public speaking background, but that's about it. Sales training background, that's about it. But I was like, let's give this a try. And we found out there was this new kid that came into town out of somewhere in New Mexico. So we thought he brought meth. And we knew he was coming into town. He was working at one of the big stations. And so we decided to call this kid up, Rob Hunter, and ask him to lunch. And we went to Five Guys. Went to Five Guys. No, Five Guys. Went to
Smashburger.
Smashburger. Went to Smashburger.
Yep.
And
on Camelback and 20th Street over in that.
Yeah, by the Biltmore area. Yeah.
Mhm.
And then we hooked up there, and Rob just gave us a bit of spit some wisdom. And I've been essentially following this guy through his career. When he would move, I would take that position. He'd move, I'd take that position. It's literally the way it was. And we've been hanging out. And we've been amazing friends ever since then. Did I miss anything, Robbie?
No, I mean, that really is the genesis of it all. But we just connected at that Smashburger lunch and just kept hanging out and drinking lots of beers and, firing firearms and purchasing firearms and all the other things that now 17 years of friendship have led to in a big brother, little brother type scenario here that we have. Lots of advice given in each side of the table, lots of life events. Mike and I know things about each other that no one else knows. I mean, that's kind of how Russell and Hunter, the Brewmans, rolls.
Yeah. And yeah, so I mean, that's
we're not going to tell you those things either.
Nope. And no, we're definitely not going to tell you those things. And B, that's basically that's why we haven't separated as hosts, as co-hosts, because dude, you ain't leaving me. Yeah, I know too much.
Too much.
One of us will be gone, dead and gone. Lynn, I don't know what. Go ahead, buddy.
No. I was just going to say we like to call our style a little pick and roll. Mike's brought this up before, like Stockton and Malone. We like to pass the ball, set the pick, let Mike go take the jump shot, nail the jumper. And then, it's my turn. I'll take the jumper. That's how we do it. And it started from Smashburger right there.
Yeah. And Lynn, I don't know my IQ. I've taken after 2 brain surgeries, I had to take 2 very all-day cognitive tests, like some of the weirdest questions I've ever heard in my entire life. Kind of tracking the question, things like that. And I did well. But they didn't give me an IQ. I don't have a score for you, Rob.
I will attest to Mike being very, very brilliant. I can
thanks, buddy.
tell you that from knowing him so well. Yeah, and I love the IQ question, Lynn, because come to find out, IQ was not started to test an individual's intelligence based on a number. It was designed in France to determine how well schools are teaching kids. So I think that measure of IQ, intelligence quotient, is number 1, misunderstood, and number 2, outdated, because the higher the number, the more effective we think someone is. But I would cite you Jimmy Carter, who supposedly has the highest IQ of all the presidents, but was the most ineffective president in our lifetimes. That is kind of one of those counterintuitive things where someone might have a very high IQ, but be Jimmy Carter and be ineffective at leadership, be ineffective with policies, where someone might have, say, 107 IQ, more on that average range, but a killer executor and gets things done. So I don't know what my number is. I think I took a test when I was a kid. It's probably like 94 or something like that.
What's that? I was getting backwards, but it's like, what's the difference between intelligence and wisdom? Intelligence is knowing tomato is a fruit. Wisdom is knowing not to put it in fruit salad.
That's a good one.
Yeah, it's like, okay, you know it's a fruit. You're the smart guy, but we don't put that in fruit salad. That's a whole different skill set. My grandfather was so amazing. My grandfather was, a scrappy dude, ran away from home at 18 and joined the military. No, 17, lied about his age, joined the military, that kind of thing. Just scrappy his whole life, and very successful. And he always said that about me, because my sister was getting the accolades for the academic achievements. She was, National Honor Society, this, that, and the other thing. I mean, I was getting at a 3.86 in high school. I wasn't stupid, but I mean, I ended up with a 4.0 anyway. But he always said, Mike's got that street smarts. You know what I mean? He's got that street smarts kind of thing. And I'm like, I think that's a really nice way of my grandfather calling me stupid. I think that's what he's doing.
No, you got life skills.
Life skills. Yeah.
Life skills. Life skills are really what matters, especially now, because, again, if you look at IQ, and IQ, supposedly you figure out problems, know how to do these certain things. But a lot of knowledge now that we've learned, number 1, is wrong. Number 2, you don't need to know it anymore because it doesn't necessarily apply to your life. It's just memorizing things. Like, why did we learn all these things in history? For the average person, it has nothing to do with history. So why do we learn it? When you can look it up on your phone, when you can Google it, when you can look up the Battle of Runnymede if you want to. You don't need to do it in a school classroom in a book. So I actually find this extension of Lynn's question to be a really good opportunity for us as Americans to update our education system, to get past facts and figures, to get more into street smarts that Mike Russell has. and teaching kids. But seriously, those are the
Yeah.
skills that
Or
help
life
you solve
skills.
real world problems, right? Life
Yeah,
skills.
right.
How does your mind work? How does it work against you? We teach kids that those ages at the age of 7. Guess what? We don't elect Biden as president. We don't elect Trump as president. We say, all right, we need to find a good 55-year-old person to be president for 8 years that has rock solid background and getting things done.
Yeah. And stop begrudging people for success. Like, don't you want a successful person as president or any kind of leadership role? Don't you want that? That
That'd be a good idea.
makes sense.
I mean,
Like,
look
oh,
at
he has 9 houses. Good. I want him. Like, yes, it reminds me of Jersey, the Jersey Senate race with Lurch and Dr. What's his name? And Dr. Oz, right? And Dr. Oz has 9 houses. Yeah. He didn't live in his parents' basement like the other guy did, but that's better. We want that guy running the show that lived in his parents' basement, or the one that went out and found success.
apparently.
Yeah.
Apparently,
Right.
that's a good
Greg,
idea.
if we do bring in commercials, and I appreciate the kind words, but if we do bring in commercials, the question was that you guys have perfect Russell 100 product, especially noon time slot. Are you guys going to be able to stay commercial free? If it is, it'll be less intrusive than mostly. We do hope to have some sort of sponsorship dollars. That'd be fantastic, but it'd be a lot less intrusive than actual commercials. Things like that. We're working on a new way to advertise without going through commercials.
And I mean, it's just a cold hard reality, right? We can't do this
Yeah.
for free forever because we got to pay bills and have mortgages and taxes to pay. So there's a couple options we've discussed, and we're going to have a meeting next week to kind of further that process. But at least I would say that if we are going to do advertising, it will be for products that will benefit you guys that we have a stake in.
100%.
Yeah.
There's no look, we don't pitch stuff that we wouldn't use, guys, that we don't use.
Exactly.
That goes on all of our everything. If Equal Matters gets a sponsorship, it's not going to be somebody that Rob does not believe in. If Go Show gets sponsored, it's not something I don't use. I mean, it could be stuff you see us on website or something like that promoting some kind of deal. That is a product that we have used, and we'd say, yeah, you guys.
But
So anyway, yeah,
12 minutes of commercials over the course of an hour.
Jeez,
like your
no.
average radio station is probably doing 12 to 15
20.
plus
20.
traffic, weather.
Yeah.
And you add in all those extra elements. There were hours where, because Mike and I had to do the podcast, and you could see the amount of time you talked. Some days it was 27 minutes over an hour.
And now it's basically in a political year. That's
Yep. Which is probably, if you're listening to KFYI or the other station we used to work at, KTAR in Phoenix, you're probably hearing the same thing. You're hearing 8-minute, as we call them, stop sets.
Yeah, we actually, it took us a little time to get the legs to do an hour, 2 hours, whatever, without commercials. This is it's just, but now it's easy. But I mean, at first it's like, damn, don't we have a commercial break coming along here? I gotta pee. Yeah, I was gonna go make a sandwich. What way?
Yeah, we used to do a bunch of it while we were drinking beer, so it just made it easier to just
amen to that.
talking.
Yeah. And so in Rhonda, I don't. I actually, last person I spoke with was actually from the previous joint from KTAR. I spoke with Larry for about a couple hours, and that was a good visit. But no, kind of different exits for Rob and I. Rob did his own on his own accord, and I was asked to leave. So after that, so I little kind of wound, a little sensitive, and I don't think I'm gonna pick up the phone and call so and so.
Yeah. A couple people here and there, Instagram chats, texts here or there. And I still keep in touch with a couple people over at the old joint too. Joe Huizinga, our buddy who just got his own show, which we're very excited for him about.
Right. And I mean, okay, so I apologize. So from iHeart, yes. I just chat with Reed from the country station, I mean, yes, but from KFY, no. Not for me, at least.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Were we... Okay, what's next? Let's see. Short catchphrase, sum up your overall approach to work, life, etc. It would be the title you had a biography written someday. What would it be? A catchphrase. Ooh, Brendan, this is a good question.
I don't have a catchphrase. I would say short catchphrase or overall approach to work. I don't know if it's a catchphrase, but mine's pretty easy. It'd be fun is hard work. I did that phrase changed my life, and I've set my expectations to everything I do in the outdoors, everything I do here online as it's fun, but it's hard work. It's fun is hard work. Fun is not easy. Fun is never easy.
I would say follow your passion. For some strange reason, I was able to. I had this little calling when I was 16 years old to go do a hip hop radio show at Emerson College's radio station, 88.9 WERS. I went and did that. And that led to, but it also taught me skills. Like all I did in college, I basically lived at the college radio station. I was there all the time. I was either working on my hip hop show, I was doing news, I was doing sports, I was doing production work. I was learning everything that I could, how to use the equipment, how to build effective techniques to broadcast well. And that passion stayed. I moved to Florida because my wife lived there and she, in the summertime moved back to Florida. And I was like, I got to get out of Massachusetts. Ended up getting my first job in talk radio. And then that became the passion. That became the thing that I knew I wanted to do. So the long answer, Brendan, is follow your passion. Follow that thing that pulls you. And it's going to suck.
I'm Rob Hunter reminding you to follow your passion. See, it's like get your dog spayed and neutered. Yeah, it's dogs and cats spayed. Yeah, but mine is fun is hard work. Reminding you the fun is hard work. I don't think that's a catchphrase. Was that a catchphrase? I don't know. He said it sounds like a catchphrase to him. What about you, Rob?
Good advice.
Okay, I'll take that. What's WTIX? What's that, big guy?
That is my New Orleans radio station. Okay, Gina, right. How you doing? Gina used to hang out with us. So we had an event in New Orleans. And I'm at the time, I think 26 years old, where I got to throw the first pitch out for a minor league baseball game, the New Orleans Zephyrs. I think they were the Astros farm team. And Gina came to that event. It was pretty fun. We had like 100 people there, and we had a small little station. So to answer Gina's question, I keep in touch with Shane here and there. His in-laws have a place out here in Phoenix. So when he comes out here, we hang out. Mike actually got to meet Shane, probably pre-pandemic at this point.
Yeah, through pre-pandemic.
Yeah, we went to the Wandering Tortoise, had some beers.
Yes.
Indian School Road there. I have not kept in touch with Crystal, though. Crystal was my producer, an Emerson College graduate from New Orleans. So when she came in and applied for the job, I'm like, okay, you know what you're doing. You're hired. Last I knew, she moved back to Denmark, originally from Denmark, had moved to New Orleans when she was a kid. And I think she's back in Denmark now. But yeah, that is a shame, Gina, that I don't get to keep in touch with her as much as I would like to.
All right, Rob. Greg's got a question about this is a Q&A. Keep them all coming, guys, as much as you want. What were the Hanson, Massachusetts women like in the 80s and 90s? Be honest in details, please. Oh. I'm ready. Let's go. I'm here we go. Rob. Go ahead. Tell us all about
it. In the 80s and 90s.
Ready, turn.
I know. I'm just trying to think of what do I want to say here?
You're as red as that book behind you, G.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
By the way, that painting up there, our friend Jordan painted that one.
Oh, nice.
It was one of our original partners in the Brumettes. Mm-hmm. So the answer to the question, Hanson, Mass, what were the women like? I mean, you talk about like the girls I went to school with.
He said details, so I'm sure he wants some risque details here, buddy. I mean, were they?
There's nothing really risque. I was a late developer when it came to ladies. I was very shy. There are several attractive ladies, though. There is Jill. I won't say their full names, so I don't call them out here. That was my first crush back in kindergarten. She's still cute. Let's see. Brooke. I had a major crush on Brooke going into high school, which my brother thinks is funny because she's somewhat looks similar to my wife. I'm like, okay, I have a type.
Well, you got a type, bro.
Exactly.
Yes.
But they were good. They're small town, Boston, suburban women.
Yeah. All right. And David, definitely, man, for sure, man. Reach out to us. Let's make it happen. So show us, and if you do like the social media, instant messaging and things like that, reach out to Rob. I never check those things. He can attest to that. I really don't. I'm the worst. I'm the worst at checking email. I'm the worst at checking instant messages. And I see all these things when I launch social media that I have all these messages. I'm like, I have no idea what happened. What's that?
It can be overwhelming.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Then somebody said to me something on LinkedIn. I said, I have a LinkedIn account. It was Rosemary Scarfo
from KTAR.
Rosemary Scarfo, which was Pat McMahon. Pat McMahon. Michael, have you met my dog Bijou? She was his producer for years and years and years and years and years. Fantastic woman, former nun. What a story she has. If she could hear us, we should probably put her on the show. Is what we should do. She's amazing.
No doubt.
One of the kindest women I've ever known in my life. All right. What else do we got? Do either of you feel that growing up in traditionally blue states, California, Massachusetts, has lent to a more objective perspective in what has been a career largely conservative-based radio? Way to bring it, my man. Holy cow. Go ahead and kick it off, Robbie. Because you are the mass hole. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I would say yes. I would say that the broader the perspective you have based on your experience, the more open-minded you are. Because helping to understand reality is interesting because, again, Mike and I talk about this all the time. You can cite me all the facts you want, but in this modern day, you're not going to change my mind because we are emotive beings and people have their own realities. So, growing up in a state like Massachusetts for 21 years, there was a certain way to look at not only my life, but political life. It's a Democrat state. My uncle was a Republican in the state house, 160 members in the state house in Massachusetts. I believe there were 15 Republicans or something.
I was going to go with 7.
Yeah, it was something ridiculously low.
right.
It may have been 30, but
Yeah.
it was overwhelmingly Democrat. So it's almost is a one-party state, but Massachusetts occasionally would vote for a Republican governor. So it was kind of this weird balance. But I think, Brendan, what that taught me was certain people look at the world different ways, right? And if I want to be influential, I can't beat them over the head with facts, which is how I spent my early talk radio career, just coming with the facts, beating people over the heads with it.
I wasn't really political in California. So I was just a kid and it wasn't really, my parents weren't very political. They were just, kind of normal middle class folks. We played little league and, my sister played softball and we were in, karate classes and stuff like that. It wasn't anything that politics really wasn't a thing. Baseball was a huge thing in our house. So mostly it wasn't news. It was Dodgers. So that's what was on all the time in our house. And that's at least what I remember. I always say that Vin Scully's that's why I call him Uncle Vin. He was like kind of like the soundtrack of my childhood, and especially in the summers. But then I came here to Arizona in high school and then went back out to California and started to mature a little, look around, started to register to vote, this and that. And I'm looking around like, these guys are lunatics. These are absolute lunatics. And I moved back here to Arizona and I just kind of felt that home. So I think I kind of look at California now as this, poor California. It's just like that, like your wayward nephew or something. Like, oh man, just can't get things right. I tell you, just. Whew. But no, I think my political life was just my leanings was just from my basically somewhat traditional values and my outdoor ways and just kind of aligning. I remember when I got something in the mail when I was 18, I got some mail from the NRA. And I asked my father, I said, why did I get something from the NRA? Like, I don't have a gun. Why would they send me? He goes, did you register Republican? And I said, yeah. And he goes, that's why you got that from the NRA. And I remember thinking this is one of the weirdest thing. I was like, I'm on the right team. That's right. Yes. Yeah. So that's what I haven't looked back since, slamming 2A in conservative 2A there. So yeah, but I don't think it really I guess knowing a lot of people in California and knowing some are darn near socialist or even devout socialist that drive Lexus and live in $2 million homes. But
usually that's how it goes.
Socialist, yes. But that has helped. And I'm dating a very liberal woman who's a part of a liberal family. And that is more helping kind of moderate my going straight diving into a MAGA pool.
Well, and I think what that does, though, is it helps you understand that 70% of us don't think the country's going in the right direction. Mm-hmm. That is something that goes above any party label you want. This is why we're so divided, because the question now is which is the way to make America better if everybody thinks it stinks. And I'll go back to your point about the guns, Mike, because Brendan, growing up in Massachusetts, I didn't give two thoughts to a gun. I didn't know why anyone would want to own a gun. Like, why would you want to own a gun?
Right.
Because you can, and it's fun.
America.
Yeah. But, that is something that I had to be educated on by Mike over the years, because the first time I shot a gun, here's the story for you. You may have heard it before. Going back to Gina, when I was a young baby talk show host in New Orleans, guy calls up. His name is Mike Casewell. He goes, hey, you want to go shoot guns? Let me know. So a random guy calls the radio station, and I'm like, yeah, sure. Let's go shoot guns. So I meet this guy on a Saturday morning, and we drive off somewhere 45 minutes outside of New Orleans, and we go fire some firearms. I'm there with a strange guy with a bunch of loaded weapons. And I was like, all right. this is way harder than I thought. Shooting firearms and hitting a target, way harder than I thought.
Mm-hmm.
So that opened the door, but then I didn't really revisit it until I met Mike in 2007. And then I don't even remember the year I bought the firearm in the parking lot of the Joyride Tacos in Uptown Phoenix. But many years later, that was the first purchase of a firearm.
There you go. Just like that. And see, what was the first election you voted in? Rhonda, I was, let's see here. I missed Clinton. I missed that one. W.
Oh, really? 2000.
Yeah.
96 was mine. I turned 18 that year. I did vote for Clinton and a bunch of Republicans because I was like, Bob Dole's old, doesn't relate to me as 18 years old.
Bob Dole's Bob Dole. Bob Dole.
Massachusetts. Clinton was going to win it.
Bob Dole.
Yep. Yeah. So, 96. I graduated high school the same year, Rhonda. 96.
Okay, I graduated in 93. Yeah. Yeah, I graduated in 93. So, yeah, it was 93. Apollo High School right here. Go Hawks.
Yeah.
My daughter said she was here last weekend. She came out in Apollo High School t-shirt. Like, whoa, where'd you get that? That was rad. I forgot I had that thing. She's like, you don't have it. She's like, it's mine.
Mine now. Like, okay. Well, I didn't know I had it. So, okay.
Exactly. And yes, I was a product of the 80s. I hit the 80s with 5 years of momentum under my belt, and I hit those 10 years hard. I love me some 80s. 80s were just absolutely fantastic. What a great decade. What a fantastic 90s two fantastic decades.
90s is the last great decade. Last great decade. Absolutely. At least as of now. It's all gone downhill from there because in the 90s, we had so much expression, so much art, so much great music. It wasn't just one genre. There was like 12 genres we could all listen to. Yeah. There was all kinds of cool clothes to wear. 90s, that was where it's at.
And I'd say late 80s and 90s, especially when we talk about music, I think one of the coolest things about that, and Rob brings up how many genres of music there were. Nobody judged anyone for music genre at that point. Everybody could listen to everything and nobody cared. I think we're kind of getting back to that as the artists are starting to meld into different genres, and I think that's really where it should be. Like our buddy Malcolm said, what do you say? A monoculture. Basically, music is kind of trending into that. By the way, and I sent you, dude. Just such a side note. Did you watch that full trailer I sent you today?
Yes.
What?
Got me excited for a movie the first time in a long time.
Holy cow. They're Gladiator 2. And I'm like, Gladiator 2, why do we need a second? Then I saw Denzel's in it. And it looks hard.
You had me at Denzel.
I know. That's why I sent it to you, kid.
Plus, the great thing is the trailer makes it seem like in Gladiator 2 is that Denzel's about to overturn the entire Roman Empire with crazy. One of those gladiators. I'm like,
yes. And I think Lucius is now like old and like he's running the joint. He's the Caesar. And I'm like, I'm in. I'm like, all right, Emma.
I saw a post. Donald Glover, a.k.a. Childish Gambino. He went to the movies in New York, I think. It was $26 for one ticket. He posted the picture of the ticket. I'm like, $26? I might as well just buy the movie for $19.99 on Amazon when it comes out and save $6 because if you take two people, $52. Who's paying $52 to go to the movies in New York City?
I'm going to be old. And say that I did last weekend. I went and saw Horizon, the first installment of the Kevin Costner Western kind of thing.
No.
Good. But there's like 18 plots that they're announcing in the first episode, and it's 3 hours long, and I just couldn't hang.
And then there's another 3-hour one coming in like 3 months.
No, next month. It just keeps on. It's just going. Well, every month's going to be another 3-hour shot. I'm like staying home.
Yep.
So I can pause it. Do whatever. I mean, An IPA at the beginning of the show was not a good idea.
Too long.
Yeah.
Too long.
Way too long. So anyway, good stuff there. All right, here. So Truman, you got a question in here, buddy? I didn't see that. Yeah. All right. Broadcast radio. Were there any guest interviews that you really looked forward to? Ultimately dread doing? Okay. Yeah. Go for that, Rob. You have a lot more guests than I have.
Always looked forward to Bill O'Reilly. Bill O'Reilly was always fun. We had him on once a month for a little over a year on Russell and Hunter. I always look forward to that. Who did I not look forward to interviewing? John McCain. He said the same crap over and over again. I was like, all right, great. The vice president of Ukraine. Awesome. And, he was who he was. So,
and his daughter's insufferable daughter showed up with him every time. Like, Daddy. Oh, I can't. Oh.
Yeah. And,
people in this world, I just can't be around.
There's just certain politicians that don't really tell you anything. Those are the ones, Brendan, that were not fun to do because it was like pulling teeth out of people. It's like, okay, you're giving me garbage, absolutely nothing, and you're trying to hold them accountable, but they know how to squirm out of things. So there's certain politicians that were really, really good at that. I'm trying to think of, I always liked interviewing Schweikert too, because I felt the opposite with him. I felt that David was there to remind us of what the real problems and challenges are ahead. It's just that nobody really wants to hear it. Although we were number one in the ratings. So obviously
we did kick some serious booty there.
People wanted to hear it.
I did, I did. I dug O'Reilly. Of course, Schweikert has become a friend. And I just, I think back in the day, I dug the comedians we interviewed. Like having Adam Carolla on a show, talking one-on-one with Adam Carolla, with just so many comedians. I can think of Jay Moore and just in Caliendo, and it was just fun. It was just, and especially
was hilarious.
And I got
on the show once.
Sinbad. How about that? Nice. When I had Carolla, I started setting up like what I was going to ask him about, and he goes, no. He goes, that's got to be live. He goes, I do not want to just shoot it to me, and I'll shoot from the hip, and we'll go from there. And he went on a 7-minute rant of should people in coach be able to use the first class bathrooms. I mean, I was listening to him. I'm like, this is some of those genius stuff I've ever heard. I mean, not even on a comedic level. I'm like, the amount of logic that this man has on something that he didn't know what was going to be asked was amazing to me. It was just absolutely amazing to me.
Clearly thought about that one before.
And then I tell you what, I did a show for God knows how many years. It seems like 50 years I had to do this show called The Think Tank. And Mike O'Neill, we became friends. He's very, very just almost socialist Democrat. And he would pick the guest for our show. And some of those interviews, I wanted to gouge my eyes and ears out with a shrimp fork because I just couldn't, I couldn't deal with it. I was like, I don't even know why I'm here. Nobody is speaking logic here. No one is speaking fact or logic. That drove me nuts. Those, yeah.
That'll do it.
Yeah.
Greg asked if we think Kerry will beat Mark. Yes, I do.
Unfortunately, yes. I think that
he doesn't have the money to compete, which is a big challenge. But he's the better candidate, but the better candidate seldom wins in these days.
That's A. Because he's qualified to do it, and he'll do a good job. So that's A. B, I think that there are enough Republican voters in this state, primary voters in this state, that might not like Kari Lake because she's gone off the rails, yet still have that bitter taste of our current governor beating her. Whether that is stop the steal, whatever it is, there's a good handful that just like it doesn't sit well with them. And they want Kari to have her, okay, Kari, we're going to, fine, we'll send you to DC then kind of vibe. And I think that just that feeling would, I think, override any common sense and see a better candidate in Sheriff Lamb for sure. Well, but if that guy stays sheriff, I'm happy.
He's not running again for sheriff.
That sucks because that weakens not only our state, but our nation at the same time.
But at the same time, that proves what Mark Lamb really is. He's not running for two offices or staying in one office while running for another. Whereas Kari Lake is just annoyed that she couldn't beat the worst gubernatorial candidate in Arizona history, at least in a long time, maybe since what's his name? Who was the dude that did the alien thing?
Alien thing?
Who brought the alien guy out when the Phoenix lights happened in 96?
Oh, I don't know. The worst governor we had was Ev Meekum. Ev Meekum was the worst dude we had.
Yeah.
He threw the P word out there that I'm not even allowed to say, streaming. And then he also, his first act as governor, his first official act was to abolish the Martin Luther King state holiday. So
that was solid. Good job. Great job there.
Yeah.
And I think that I always look at these as wake-up calls, because if you're Kari Lake and you're polling behind Ruben Gallego, that tells me all I need to know. That tells me that people don't like you, because Ruben Gallego is awful. He is
the awfulest
wannabe progressive
jackass,
do whatever. I mean, he's just a grubby, gross,
greasy piece of garbage. What he is.
And he likes to drink a lot.
He does. I have video of it. Rob, when did you realize you were a dyed-in-the-wool libertarian?
2003, Iraq War. when I realized that was a bunch of crap. I was like, this sucks. And then I've showed you the book Mugged by the State. I read that book right around that same time. And it's all about power abuses by government. And then I started investigating the FBI, and they'd done the same thing. And that was pretty much when I became a full-on fledged libertarian, 2003. So I'm old enough now to be a libertarian drinker, 21 years.
And Greg said, Mike is a Republican, of course, a Republican, yes, of course, and that's because of Rob, and it really is, because I really never took the 30,000 foot view, really, of anything. I think I speak for a lot of Americans, the vast majority of Americans, that don't take a 30,000 foot view of their party, of the political landscape, and really what's going on. And once you start to take that type of view, that high of a view, then you kind of look at your own party and go, really, guys? Really? I mean, I know we're the conservative team. I get it. But can we get back to this whole Constitution thing? Small government? Gee, I'd really like to do that. Can we please? Yeah, they didn't invite me to the RNC. So
no.
And I love it that we weren't born in technology, Greg. I think it's a great thing. Gen Xers were not born in technology, but we had to, we can go between an analog and digital world seamlessly, like night walkers. We can move in between, we can move in and out of technology all day. And that's what makes Xers dangerous. That's what makes us as arrogant as we are, because we can survive in both worlds.
Well, I think this is fascinating, because this is just something I haven't really talked about, but having the internet had a massive impact on the way my brain works, not in a good way. So I used to love chat rooms back in the day. Mm-hmm. And I was way too young to have chat rooms, to be honest with you. And it shaped the way that I viewed certain things. And that I don't think is a good thing, especially now that it's faster. There are studies that show now 1 in 3 kids, and Mike and I, we talked about this the last week before, 1 out of 3 teenagers between the ages of 12 and 17 is severely depressed. And it's spiked since 2011, when smartphones really became prominent, ubiquitous, if you will. So there's obviously a tie to how the brain works, the chemicals that fire in your body, to having this technology, because you can compare yourself to everybody in the whole world. You might want to be an influencer at the age of 14 and wonder why you don't have 1 million followers. What do you have to do to get 1 million followers? I do think that because we're Gen Xers, we do have that straddle in both parts, which is going to be advantageous going forward if the baby boomers would retire and get out of the way, because Gen X is the last generation, to Mike's point, and to your point, Greg, that understands what life was like without advanced technology. And we talked about flip phones yesterday. I am really not liking all this technological creep. I find myself wanting to be less attached to it. I find myself flipping through Instagram going, what am I doing? All of this stuff is boring. Why am I spending my time on it? So I wonder if there is going to be a bigger reverb pushback effect, because they're always in a rebellion in a way, right? Every generation pushes back against the older generations. And I wonder if, because technology has that ability to warp people's brains in negative ways, if people will just step away from it. But I don't know.
Actually, Brendan brings up a point that was brought up kind of a little bit earlier about McCain, about, we used to be on a station that really liked history, that liked McCain. Says you can't say anything bad about Rubin, otherwise you hate veterans. And that was the thing with McCain. I was like, how long do we have to keep smooching this guy's booty? It keeps screwing up over and over and over and over again. Thank you for your service. Should it be about where it ends? And there we go. Thank you for your service, sir. You are a hero. You truly are. We've given you the keys of the castle. You truly are an American hero. That's it. Then I don't like your record. I don't like what you did. I don't like the whole dossier thing. And I mean, just that's a perfect prime example. So
he was one of the ones that gave it to the FBI, because it
Correct.
landed on his desk, the Russian dossier about Trump, the Clinton document, if you will.
So I was, so I mean, that kind of, it just bugs me about it. I can't say, and he's right in saying that. I mean, it's hard. Oh, well, you obviously don't like veterans then. Okay, sure. Yeah. I don't like veterans.
I don't like some veterans. I'll say it. Some veterans are a-holes.
I don't like some cops. Some cops are a-holes. Some first responders, some soldiers. I'm sorry, guys. It is what it is.
There was I remember back when I was on KTAR with Daryl and Carlo. If you guys go back that far on KTR, there was a veteran who, I don't remember if he was flying to a next post or coming home, and he had bags. and whatever airline charged him for a second bag. And we were like, oh, why would you do that to a veteran? So I found the guy. I put him on the phone, and he was a jerk. I was like, I wouldn't give this guy a free bag either because he feels like he deserves it because he's wearing a uniform.
No.
That's the kind, like, there are all kinds of people. I don't know, maybe it's 4%, 10% or whatever, that just because you served doesn't mean, all right, cool, you're a hero for the rest of the life cycle that you have.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we need to not be afraid to be, critique people that need to be critiqued. So I think that is it. And I think to go back to the McCain, and I get why. There's a lot of radio shows hosts who think that that's the best option.
What do you mean?
Just bring in a senator, talk to a senator, while that senator just advocates for another war, because that's all McCain did in his last 15 years in office was, we need to bomb this place. We need to go to war to this place. We need to do this. We need to do that. Very much a big part of that military industrial complex, which we find ourselves in a very disadvantaged position because we spent all this money and resources and lives in Afghanistan and Iraq, and now China's bought the world because we spent all our money on dumb crap in Afghanistan.
Okay, it was about dumb. So listen, I just asked. I can verify it, but I'm pretty sure it's about right. About 27 to 28% of veterans have ever seen combat or have been deployed to a part where they're in combat.
Those are the ones who get whatever you want.
Hey, hell yeah! I mean, and Rob and I couldn't run on that platform because then you hate veterans. I served at this. My dad. My dad was drafted. Okay, my dad didn't volunteer. He didn't sign up for any of that, and he managed a golf course. A military golf course for his entire deployment, Anyone that said thank you for, he never mentioned he was in the military, because he was like, why? Were you kidding me? I'm now a scratch golfer and I'm a pool shark. That's what I did for however many years. That's all I did. And he goes, I didn't even choose to do it. I was just told to go do it. I was drafted and I was told this is where you're going to go. And so it does get a little tiresome, the entitlement of some that especially like okay, I'm not going to get into the names, but just it's hard to run on that platform though.
Oh, absolutely.
It's hard to run on that platform, especially if you were injured in battle. You're injured in combat.
You got to go
to the castle.
What do you want? We got you. Yep, absolutely. You want job training? What kind of job do you want? We'll help you get that job. I mean, whatever it is.
We'll damn near guarantee you that job.
There should be levels, right? Because that's the truth. Because some people serve 4 years and they just serve 4 years and they go live on a military base and do some exercises, shoot some guns. And that's cool. We're glad that you're there because we don't have to have a draft and there is a role for that. But that doesn't make you, for the rest of your life, you went from 18 to 22 and you live to be 92, that you should have the keys to the castle necessarily.
Well, here's what you get. No, even if it's that, you get free college, your kids get free college, your family gets free college, you get free health insurance for the rest of your life, your family gets free health insurance for the rest of their life. So you know something? That's a good trade-off. Hey, thank you so much. You've got a pension, you've got a military pension now, which I know more people in the military that have military service that are veterans that are on 100% disability while they're working and doing other things and having it. Trust me, the benefits are there for y'all. They are. It's just, I don't know how we got off on this rant, but I was like, it's like McCain. I'm not, dude, I'm sorry. You did the most, champ, and we did give you the keys to the castle, but I'm not going to keep kissing your booty if you keep sending our country down the wrong way.
Well, and that's all a big part of it, right? It's if we look at the larger industrial complex and how much money of yours that it spends, part of that is a lot of these benefits. Part of it is a lot of these healthcare costs. And then there's other challenges in the VA because they're big pill pushers. So you take in a veteran who might be struggling, you give them some pills, whether it's pain or depression or PTSD, and you send them back out into the world without actually treating the symptoms. So if we really wanted to dig into veterans and taking care of them, that should be our number one job, not funding a Ukraine war to make sure that the defense contractors get to make more weapons that we have to buy. But it is hard to say that because of what Brendan pointed out. Oh, you want to be the anti-military guy. I'm not anti-military. I just want to use the military smartly, and I want to treat the people that volunteer to serve well. And, there's certain levels to that. Like Mike said, if you manage the golf course, it's cool. You get your benefits. You get to go to college. Your kids get to go to college. You get your health care. It's cool. There's nothing wrong with that.
Nope.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm with you. Would we ever go back to terrestrial radio, some version of Russell and Hunter? It would have to be a hell of a contract. It'd have to have a hell of a reach, and Rob and I'd have to be able to do it the way we want to do it. And I think we're stubborn enough. We're stubborn enough now, and confident enough now that we would it would have to be seriously one hell of a package to make that happen. It would have to be bigger reach than just one local. It wouldn't be a local show. Let's put it that way. And by the way, it would evolve to the streaming anyway, because that's where it's going. That's where the entire industry is going. So, I mean, if we did that, it would be big, but it'd be a little bit bigger on this. And that's why we love having you all here and helping us start this and helping us grow this, because we honestly think we can grow it to a pretty solid level, sizable level.
And I think that there are limits to terrestrial radio because it is really partisan. It is really geared towards making money, which is fine. I have no problem with that. But it prevented the company, in my view, from getting creative into what Mike and I could do. Because one of the things that I pose is like, I like to move around. I like to be in different places. You know, my dad's 76. He lives in Maine and Florida. I would like to be able to go visit him and not take vacation time, right? But I could do the show from Florida or Maine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And they're like, no, we don't really want to do that. And I think that the limiting approach to any business is not a great idea. And I thought it would have been advantageous because I could, you know, I like going out in the streets, as Mike knows. Not like Kamala going out in the streets. Rob really likes to go out in the streets.
I like going out to advance my career in the streets.
Yeah, but I thought it would have made the show better. I thought it would have given the show a different, broader perspective. So that's what we're doing here on our own. So would we go back? Like Mike said, I can't 100% say no, but I can't 100% say yes either.
Yeah, it would have to. They would have to be definitely worth our while. Why don't we like Carrie? I love Carrie as a human. I think she's a wonderful person. Spoken with her several times. I think she's a really cool human being, and she would have just absolutely mopped the floor with our current governor had she just stayed that course. Had she literally just stayed the course of, I am going to be Carrie Lake, the Carrie Lake y'all know and love, Carrie Lake that has been talking to you every night for 2 decades or however long it was, and she would have just crushed. But she went off on a path that we didn't really agree with, and even in this senatorial campaign, she's I don't like the moves. It's just constant. I was stolen. It was stolen. It was stolen. It was stolen. It was stolen. Instead of here's what I need to do. Here's what I can do. And it was like that the stunt she pulled where she ran into Gallego at the airport with 3 cameramen, stuff like that. It's not the kind of politics I like.
Here's my Gina challenge with Carrie. It's all of the things Mike said. It's I want to be Trump light because I want to be liked by Trump. And I have problems with Trump too. The election was not stolen. It wasn't. He lied because he lost to a dead guy and he got pissed off about it because Donald Trump has said consistently his entire life, he hates to be a loser. I'm not a loser. I'm not a loser. So that really started a series of decision-making by him and his candidates that make me uncomfortable as a freedom-loving American because it has created so much dissent now and distrust in this country. It's going to be hard to fix. And Carrie Lake is not attempting to fix it at all. She would just rather go down with the ship because she's stubborn, surrounded in this bubble of weirdos.
Well, I think it's calculated. She is intelligent. I think it's calculated knowing that if she goes down and Trump's, I mean, she's still going to have a very high-ranking position in something. I mean, there has to be some sort of self-serving motive behind her
There's word that Trump thinks she's even too much. Like, So, and then again, I don't know. That's all inside baseball that I'm not privy to. But I don't disagree that she's not smart. It's just she hasn't been smart since she lost the election. And hasn't welcomed anyone new. If you lose an election by 17,000 votes and you're not self-reflective and you go, wow, maybe I shouldn't have told McCain Republicans to not vote for me. Yeah. Because you remember, Mike, there was a press conference. My old radio show co-host, Carrie Dozer, was at this press conference. Didn't like Carrie Lake so much. She shows up with a bunch of other Republicans to say that they're voting for Katie Hobbs, even though they know Katie Hobbs isn't a great candidate. That's the difference in the election. And if you're not willing to be honest with yourself, how can I trust you to vote on things that matter to me?
So that's, and she brought in, what did she bring in? Bannon at the end of the whole thing? Like, just no.
Yeah, exactly. She tried to seal the deal with like the crazies.
Yeah. So, and I appreciate that, Rhonda, and I appreciate you guys agreeing. It's funny. Brennan said his next door neighbor was her camera guy at the airport with Gallego. I think, oh my God. but at the same time, I mean, my girlfriend's neighbor is well, like 3 houses down. Was Mark Kelly's campaign manager. And I just look at the guy. I was like pulling in the driveway the other day, and I was looking down, and he was like showing family and back to walking their family in the car or something like that. And I was looking at the guy, and I was like, I don't know how you sleep at night. Like I just it was kind of this inside, like, dude, really? I mean, that's just grease. That was the dumbest campaign ever. But y'all, that's how you do. That's how you roll. And it's just the grossness of it. And that's kind of going back to the Kerry thing. It's like those tactics are just gross. No one likes those tactics. No one likes seeing those. And by the way, anybody that likes seeing those are going to vote for you anyway. Literally, you're not moving the needle at all. You're just your people will always vote for you. There are people that are going to vote for Kerry Lake because she's most likely going to win the primary. Kerry Lake is going to get a majority of the Republican votes because they're not going to vote for Ruben Gallego. So she doesn't need to pull any of these stunts. She needs to win independent minds.
Exactly. And there's a lot of them in Arizona. 1/3 of our state is registered independents. And that's it's just being realistic, right? You can promote the Trump policies if you want to, but not be like Trump because there already is a Trump. Why would you want to be like Trump? I never tried to be like Rush Limbaugh on the air because there was already a Rush. Why would I want to be like Rush Limbaugh? Why wouldn't I just want to be me? So I think that's, Gina, to give you the long-winded answer on that question for both of us. I think it's a character issue at the end of the day. And I think that, to Greg, your point, I know you speak very highly of Sheriff Lamb's character, but I agree. He is a man of character and of principles, and that's why I like him.
And that's why you can't win
in
today's political environment. That's why you lose.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we thought that Crenshaw dude was going to be like the savior of the conservative Republican Party, savior of the VA, and everything was going to be, well, he's just in there just making himself rich. It's a bozo. And I just don't. There's people of character don't run for office. Let's just put it that way.
That's true. Because, but again, one of the reasons why, Mike, is we're so judgmental. Oh, Mike Russell smoked weed when he was 19. We can't vote for him because we're going to pretend to be morally righteous when we circle our bubble.
But where were we taught this? That's the thing. So it's not like, oh, society and we're government. No. We were taught this from a early age. How many valedictorians ran for class president? No, prom queen did.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Not just we voted for egomaniacs since we were in school. And that's kind of what we're. Oh yeah, that seems very presidential. Seems like that's a good senator right there. That's a good candidate right there. That's it. Not what is there? Like going back to the last question, what is your IQ? Like what kind of student were you? Were an A, B, C student? What were you? I mean, what kind of success have you had?
Mostly A's with some B's and once in a while a C.
I was a damn good student. My that 386 that I mentioned earlier, that was actually the 386 was the cumulative grade point average of our basketball team.
Well, didn't you have to, or wouldn't?
Oh yeah, you weren't nailing A's. You weren't nailing jumpers. To tell you that much.
Hey, sure. I love that. Yeah, I that's very funny because I think my friend Brian, who was the class valedictorian, I think I nominated him for president of something or other, and of course he didn't win because he's a valedictorian. By the way, I got my ballot in the mail yesterday. I filled it out and put it in the mailbox today. I did vote for Lamb, so I will go on the record for that.
Yeah, 100% I'm voting for Lamb. I mean, I don't think he's going to. I'm going to vote for him, and I hope there's enough people that are saying the same damn thing, and then he just magically pulls this off. Could you imagine?
I'm going to reach out.
I mean, we just talked about Kerry. We talked about Kerry in depth here. Could you imagine if she loses the primary to Sheriff Lamb? She'll move to Mar-a-Lago. Yeah. Holy mackerel. Yeah. Oh, Arrow, I tell you this. What's up, Arrow? How you doing, brother? The guy, clown like Gavin Newsom. I don't know. I would actually vote for Gavin Newsom over Ruben Gallego. He's that greasy. He's just not good for America at all.
At least Newsom sucks.
Yeah, right. This is good. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes. I'm running for office. Yeah, Rob and I have gone back and forth running for office too. I remember when Trent Franks was horrifyingly #MeToo'd in the worst way, because what a good human being he is. And a guy that, speaking of a guy that doesn't have to be there, dude is an oil fortune. He's wanted to do good. When he was booted, that was my district. And I basically knew that the retirement community up here by my house is you have that, you're good. You win. You get that pocket, you're done. And I already had inroads in there, people in there, the right people in there. So I asked one of the Republican consultants that Rob and I've had on several times back at KTAR. I asked him, I said, what do you think? And he goes, give me a day and I'll come back to you. He came back a day later. He's like, listen to a bunch of your podcasts. And no, there's just too much ammo, way too much ammo. This is just too much you have too much out there to run. Mm-hmm.
Well, and this is where the main point that I always make ad nauseum for you guys is this is up to us.
Yeah. There you go.
If we want to accept this crap, okay, cool. Let's keep accepting this crap and see what happens. But if we don't want to accept this crap in these candidates, then now's the time. I mean, not this year, 2024, but 2028, 2026. We have time to alter our entire process and what we talk about and what language we put out there to actually make a difference. So I think that is a big part of it, is that recognition of our own personal responsibility instead of just like waving the white flag and saying, well, this is the way that it is. And I'm just going to be like Carrie Lake and ride the ship to the bottom of the ocean and have a good time while doing it.
This was a good time. This was so much fun.
One more question, though.
Oh, here we go. Okay.
Worst job we've had, radio or not radio?
Oh, crap.
I don't think I've had a worse job. There were challenges I've had at each job. Like there were times at KTAR where I wanted to quit.
Yeah.
Especially in the early days, I was working a ton. It was a lot, but purpose eventually won out.
When I was getting out of, I'd been in real estate for a hot minute, and there during the rise before the fall, there was a friend of ours that lived next door to the CEO of a big mortgage company, a big lending company. So he said, "Hey man, just come, dude. Just sit at the desk a couple days to see if let's come on, man. You'll like this. You're gonna make some money. You're gonna make some money." I'm like, "Okay, whatever. I'll go check it out." And so I started doing it and realized that in training they said that we needed to go after Spanish surnames because they don't know better. And we need to tell people that, a 650, 700 FICO score is bad and they need a higher interest rate to get it up closer to 800. It was basically this chop shop. It was like this boiler room kind of atmosphere. It was absolutely, I just sat there. I sat there for an entire week until they fired me. I didn't make one phone call. I just sat there until they fired me. It was absolutely, it was Ameriquest. Ameriquest Mortgage was one of the big subprime banks. And they were even the big, I always thought it was funny that when Artie Moreno bought the Angels, that the big Anaheim A outside of the stadium, it went from I think a Pepsi sponsorship for decades. It went to Ameriquest was on the A, and he was the first Hispanic owner of a team. And I'm like, that company literally goes after Hispanics. It was terrible. So shady. Yeah.
I've never had a job like that. Here are my jobs. I worked in a grocery store for 5 years, high school and college. I was the student program director at my college radio station. I then here's the job. I forgot about this job. I worked at a car dealership when I first moved to Florida for like 2 months, selling cars. I hated it. Awful. Hondas too, and I love Hondas. But it was that aggressive type of dealership where 9 dudes would walk up to your car if you pulled in the lot. So I lasted 2.5 months until I got my first radio job. Saturday nights, 7 p.m. to 1 a.m. Exactly what a 22-year-old recent college graduate wants to do. Instead of hitting the clubs, I'm hitting the station, paying my dues, getting it done. And then from there, it was radio station. So it was Gainesville, Florida, where I started, Boston, Mass, at WEEI, and I had a little stint at my college radio station again as the assistant GM. Then New Orleans. And then I had an 8-month period after Katrina where I couldn't find a job, and I just played a lot of Tiger Woods golf on PlayStation, applied for jobs every day.
Nice.
Farmington, New Mexico, which is a job I really didn't like until recent reflection, and I'm like, it was good for me.
Yeah.
Humble lessons. And then KTAR, got fired, valeted cars for 6 months or so, started filling in at KFYI, and then started doing the download at 5 a.m. And then it was Russell and Hunter time 5 years later. So I really, the car dealership would be the only one of those jobs that I would be like, oh, that was not for me.
I got to say 2 crazy ones I had. Like, basically '08, the downturn. I was in real estate, lost everything. Boom, lost everything. Overnight stocking at Home Depot. That's humbling with 2 children.
No doubt.
Did that, and then prior to, when I was changing in real estate, I forget, I was going from regular real estate to investment real estate, so it was dry period. I'm not kidding y'all. Overnight infomercial call center. I answered infomercial calls, late night infomercials. I answered those calls.
Wow.
Yep.
I sold Tony Robbins tapes. I actually have, where is it?
You sold Tony Robbins tapes.
Just saying, this is what Mike sold.
Dude, seriously. No, dude, the best were the 2, I can't say the M word, 2 little people. I think that's more discouraging than anything. That were the twin investors, like real estate investors. And oh my gosh, the drunk people calling on that infomercial was absolutely fantastic. It was back when the Tilia Food Saver was first brought out. Yeah.
That's
what
funny.
A crazy time. I mean, just middle of the damn night, people just
How old were you when you did that?
Yeah, Lord. 20s.
Yeah.
Sometime in there.
That's funny.
Yeah. That's the call center just right by the airport. Yeah. Yeah. That is a short time at Home Depot. You rocked the orange apron. That's right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. What's your full-time job now? Here you go.
Yeah.
This is it. This is what we got. That's why we're asking you to help us out. Build this thing, like it, share it. We'll build it and it'll be just fine like we were last time. It's no big deal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Mike also hosts the Go Show, which you can catch at 11 a.m. right before us. It's right on the Go Show Facebook page, Instagram, and Twitter. And he also does a bunch of stuff in the outdoor community, Wildlife for Tomorrow being one of those organizations.
Yeah.
And let's see, I am now a communication coach as well. I help people get their message out more effectively. So I do that in addition to this and, whatever else I can get into, because Mike knows I always like to have 9 jobs.
That's true. It's like a damn Jamaican. Happy 12 tings. Yeah. All right. Cleaning toilets. Yeah, we had them, guys. All right. Well, let's do this again, guys. It's been a ton of fun. We got to go get the heck up out of here. So love you all. Thank you so much for playing along. And we'll see if we can make it a regular thing. I think it can be a regular. I don't know about weekly, but we'll see if what we vibe in our little powwow that we're having next week. So y'all have a wonderful day, and we'll do this again tomorrow. Got a lot to talk about tomorrow. Holy mackerel. Here we go. Right here on Russell and Hunters in Other News. Have a great afternoon.